We've got tips and recipes for healthy living. So for fun and inspiration, come and join us in the raw food world.
During any one sex act, he can have multiple orgasms, and those orgasms become longer and more profound than the genital orgasms the average man who hasn't explored these things has.
Okay, I love that. And also I wanted to know, like, I feel like the mind has a lot to do with it also. For example, when I was saying I get excited sometimes, it's kind of just like losing consciousness in a way into the primal, not that necessarily that's a bad thing, but I've gotten to points where, you know, the purpose is, you know, to satisfy the woman, and my mind is just all there, I'm totally relaxed, I'm not like breathing fast and stuff like that. So I felt like mind over matter has a lot to do with it too.
Yeah, mind over matter has something to do with it, and I think it's really important to create really good synchronization between the woman and the man so that they're working together on this. For instance, if you're going to try to learn how to retain your semen and your partner's not working with you together on that, and there's a bit of an energy struggle, which can happen because a lot of times the partner may relate the ejaculation to her succeeding in pleasing you. And when she understands that you're more pleased by retaining the ejaculate and having the longer orgasms, when she understands that and she wants to work together with you, you can get into a kind of a cooperative experience where you together stop when it's time to stop, and you breathe together, and you work through the experience together, instead of the more kind of caveman experience that can happen where you're just going forward like you're trying to please, like you're doing your job, and instead you're working together harmoniously. And when she understands you're getting close to that orgasm experience and that you need to contract the muscles and pause, she pauses with you and you breathe together, and you become, instead of two really separate entities, you start behaving like one organism one organism together in that experience. I think that's even more helpful than trying to use your mind to control the experience. More valuable if the partners can channel what Wilhelm Reich called the orgone energy. If you can channel the orgasm energy together as a team, that I think works better than anything.
Wow, I'm excited.
You're incorrigible.
I'm excited to play. No. Okay, so I have a couple more questions. Okay, so I guess this might be a little bit too much information for everybody, but
Here we go.
I was circumcised, and I have a feeling that this is something that I do not appreciate, and also this might affect the longevity of how long a man can last for, because there's like no protective layer. What do you think about that?
Yeah, women, please don't circumcise your children. It's cruel and unusual punishment. In other countries, when we do this to women, it's called female genital mutilation. When we do it here, it's called circumcision. And the doctor tells you should do it so your son doesn't feel awkward in the locker room with the other boys. Remember that the glands, the head of the penis, is essentially the same organ that's the clitoris on a woman. And if you removed the tissue that covers the clitoris nerve endings then be exposed all the time to, say, your pants or your underwear, and they would rub against it all the time, and it would desensitize it. What actually happens to men who are circumcised is that we end up needing a lot more stimulus, because the organ is constantly being stimulated by clothing. And so it starts to deaden the experience a bit more, and those men need a lot faster. Like, if you're feeling ever women like, I wish he would slow down and relax a little bit during sex, it's probably because he was circumcised. And that's a good reason for you not to circumcise your children. Do it for women in the future of the world. Yeah, the foreskin is a very important part of the organ, and it protects the glands and the nerve endings of the glands, and it also lubricates the glands, and it's a much better experience for men. Men who've been circumcised lose a lot of nerve endings, and honestly, because one of our very first experiences as children is having our genitals mutilated, it makes men a little bit obsessed with their genitals, and it makes them a little bit obsessed with sex, and it makes them very confused, and since their mother gave permission for it, sometimes it sets up deep subconscious psychological trauma as it relates to women, and the sex act becomes a bit perverted from what it originally was. And so I think the more we can move towards letting the penis stay intact, and we can start exploring, why are we doing this? Because of course all the reasons for it, given like cleanliness and hygiene, all these things are myths. It's like saying we need to cut the hood of the clitoris away for hygiene. That's obnoxiously ridiculous. Of course, that's foolish. It doesn't make any sense that we're doing this. It's actually an ancient religious ritual that doesn't really have much bearing on people today in this culture, and yet we continue to do it. So I think what's most important is that we start allowing boys to stay intact. And those of us who've been circumcised, that's something that we have to actually live with the rest of our lives, with scarred penises. And we have to work through the trauma, because again, it's trauma that goes all the way back to our early days. And yes, we have overstimulated glands, and so we've lost a lot of sensitivity. That has a huge bearing on our sex life for sure.
No.
You'll never be normal. Were you circumcised, Daniel?
You know what, I was, and my mother said that she would never ever do that again, but then she got pressured by the doctors and did it to my brother too. So most of us were, a lot of us were, and in fact men who aren't circumcised are often embarrassed about that, like there's something wrong with them, because women and men today, when they think of penises, they typically picture one that has a big scar ring around it, and they think that's normal. They see that scar and they think that's normal, and actually what it is the traumatic residue of a strange, barbaric, religious ritual, torturous ritual that's being carried out on infants all over the Western world every single day. What my mother, the reason she said she'd never do it again is because she heard the screams when they did it. It's extremely traumatic, and once you recognize what you're seeing is actually a scar, it changes how you see it. You realize, wow, we've created an aesthetic around a type of mutilation. I think people should have the right to modify their bodies, of course. However, to do that to children before they can choose, and to do it to their sex organ, seems really demented. And we know it's demented when we think about female genital mutilation. But for some reason, no one's really thinking about male genital mutilation.
Okay, one last question before we end this video. So the question is, so when a man has an orgasm, we can sense that a lot of life force is taken away. Now, what about a woman? Like, is there any negative aspects to a woman orgasming? I've heard there is lately. What's going on there?
I don't think so. I think women should have plenty of orgasms and they should feel really good about it. The Chinese, who really the Taoists, and also in India, you know, the Indians who give us the Kama Sutra, who studied sexuality as yet another health science, and they understood that it was healthy, that it was good for us, it was important for us. What they tell us is that when the man ejaculates, he gives away energy and the woman receives energy. The female orgasm, and the reason women are typically can be so multi-orgasmic, is because they receive energy from the orgasm. Whereas the man, if he doesn't learn the techniques, gives energy. So typically we have this cliche idea that the couple has sex and then the man falls asleep and the woman's wide awake, lying in bed wanting to cuddle. She's awake because she's received life force. He's asleep because he's given life force. When a couple starts to explore the tantric arts, what's happening is they're learning to circulate that sexual energy, so they're both vitalized and their organs are nourished by the orgasm energy. I think women can have multiple orgasms and not be losing life force. For a man, it's possible. He just has to learn how to do it.
Nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. I'm gonna have a lot of fun and testing and.
Angela's either gonna love me or hate me for this one.
And we've got?
Angela Sex Monarch.
And?
Daniel Vitalis.
And Matt Monarch. Woo! And we'll see you again tomorrow at the Raw Food World TV show.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again at the Raw Food World.